They say their power comes from God, a divine right to rule, passed down from one generation to the next. But what if that's not the whole story? What if the truth is way more sinister? What if the most powerful families on Earth didn't make a deal with heaven, but with something much, much older and a whole lot darker? This is the story of the deals allegedly made in the shadows, the secret rituals behind palace walls, and the infernal entities that might have been propping up thrones for centuries. This isn't the history you got in school. We're going beneath the floorboards into the cellars where the real contracts of power were supposedly signed. This is the story of Bloodline Secrets and the cosmic ties that might just bind royal families to forces beyond our understanding. Get ready to question everything you thought you knew about the crown. For centuries, the whole idea of a monarchy was built on one elegant concept: the divine right of kings. This doctrine says a monarch isn't subject to any earthly authority. Nope. They get their right to rule directly from the will of God. The crown is a heavenly mandate, and the king is just its chosen vessel. This was the ultimate excuse for absolute power, a spiritual contract that put the ruler above the law and beyond question. This divine lineage was guarded with obsessive care. Royal houses intermarried with a dizzying, almost frantic complexity, creating a web of kinship that spanned all of Europe. The goal was simple: keep the bloodline pure, keep the divine mandate intact. This got so intense that today, because of something historians call pedigree collapse, almost anyone with significant European noble ancestry, including most of Europe's recent monarchs, can trace their family tree back to one monumental figure: Charlemagne, the Frankish king, crowned Holy Roman Emperor in 800 AD. This is a well-documented genealogical reality. But what if all this intermarrying wasn't just about preserving a divine right? What if it was about preserving something else? Fringe theories ask a wild question. What if Charlemagne and the gateway ancestors who came before him weren't just passing down a blessing from God, but a pact, an infernal deal that had to be kept in the family, no matter what? From this perspective, the endless royal intermarriages weren't about politics or power in the way we usually think. They were a mechanism to keep ancient demonic pacts going, preserving the purity of a lineage not to please God, but to continue serving the infernal entities that gave them their earthly thrones in the first place. In this view, the divine right was the perfect cover story, a bit of celestial propaganda hiding a diabolical truth. The real power, the theory suggests, flowed not from above, but from below. And to understand this, we have to look at the moments when the veil seemed to thin, and the royals' obsession with the unseen world became a matter of historical record. Royal history is full of advisors, ministers, and clergy. But if you look in the margins, you find other figures. The alchemists, the astrologers, the mystics. Were they just eccentric hobbies for bored monarchs? Or were they something much more important? Take Dr. John Dee. To most of the world, he was a trusted advisor to Queen Elizabeth I, and one of the most brilliant men of his time, a mathematician, astronomer, and navigator. But Dee was living a double life. He was also a full-blown ceremonial magician who claimed he could talk to angels using a practice called scrying, with a crystal ball and a black obsidian mirror. He and his associate, Edward Kelly, filled entire volumes with what they called an Enochian, or angelic language, supposedly dictated to them by these beings. Historians today usually separate Dee's occult work from his day job, But fringe researchers? They see it all as one and the same. They claim Dee wasn't just advising the Queen on maps. He was her operator for other dimensions, renewing an ancient pact. Those angelic conversations were actually chats with the very entities that granted the throne its power in the first place. And this wasn't a one-off. Fast forward to the 19th century and the peak of the British Empire. Queen Victoria, devastated after her husband Prince Albert died, fell into a deep, prolonged grief. It's historically documented that she turned to spiritualism, even taking part in seances at Buckingham Palace to try and contact him. Mainstream history sees a grieving widow, but occult researchers see another example of a monarch turning to a familiar ancestral power source in a time of crisis. Her actions, they say, weren't a fluke, but a continuation of a long tradition. Of course, you can't talk about royal mystics without talking about Grigory Rasputin. History paints him as the debauched mad monk who gained shocking influence over Empress Alexandra because he seemed to be able to ease the suffering of her hemophiliac son, Alexei. His presence at court destabilized the Romanov dynasty and arguably sped up the Russian Revolution. But the fringe perspective is different. They see Rasputin not as a con man, but as a conduit for ancient forces. Was his hold over the family a sign that a demonic pact was playing out its final disastrous chapter? Proponents claim the Romanovs' power was tied to such an entity, and Rasputin was its agent on Earth, with his scandalous behavior and eventual murder being the chaotic end of a deal gone bad. In each of these cases, Dee, Victoria, Rasputin, the official story has a rational explanation. But when you look through the lens of this conspiracy, they become something more. Evidence of a hidden relationship between royal bloodlines and unseen entities. So let's say a royal family wanted to make a deal with a demon. How would they even do that? Well, according to occult lore, you'd need a handbook. A very specific, very forbidden kind of book. A grimoire. These aren't fairy tales, they're actual historical artifacts, manuals for ceremonial magic that detail rituals for summoning angels, spirits, and most notoriously, demons. Books like the Lesser Key of Solomon are basically demonic encyclopedias containing a section called the Ars Goetia that lists the names and alleged abilities of 72 demons King Solomon supposedly summoned and controlled. Then you have the Grand Grimoire, also called the Red Dragon, which is even more direct. It's practically a how-to guide for making a pact with the devil's prime minister, Lucifuge Rofocale, in order to get rich and powerful. The idea of a deal with the devil is a classic in European folklore. Traditionally, it's a formal contract, sometimes said to be written in the summoner's own blood. In exchange for earthly power, the summoner wagers their immortal soul. The legend of Faust, who sells his soul to the demon Mephistopheles for ultimate knowledge, is the most famous example of this. But how does this apply to a whole dynasty? Modern occult theories take this idea from an individual deal to an ancestral one. Some researchers claim that a pact made by an ancestor could create a demonic claim over their entire bloodline for generations. These legal rights, they argue, are passed down just like any other inheritance, giving the entity influence over the family's fate. And this leads to the most extreme part of the whole theory. The idea that some of these pacts needed more than just a signature. They needed a recurring tribute. The Malleus Maleficarum, a notorious 15th century guide to witch hunting, accuses pact makers of heinous acts, including ritual sacrifice. Now, modern conspiracy theorists have taken this horrifying idea and run with it. They ask, could the sudden death of a royal heir, a tragic accident, or even a political execution be something more? Could it be a contractual obligation? A sacrifice to an entity like Moloch, a Canaanite deity linked in folklore with child sacrifice to keep the family's power intact? It's a deeply disturbing claim, and let's be crystal clear. There is absolutely no credible evidence for it. But in the world of this theory, it's the final, brutal cost of the bargain. Power for a bloodline, paid for with the blood of that same line. This brings us to the core of the conspiracy, the idea of the 13 bloodlines. In the tangled world of conspiracy theories, one stands out as maybe the most controversial, the theory of the 13 demonic bloodlines. This idea was popularized in the 90s by fringe authors like Fritz Springmeier, and just so we're all on the same page, it's a modern invention with no basis in history. Still, it's become a cornerstone for the belief that a secret cabal rules the world. It claims that the most powerful families on Earth are descendants of lineages that made pacts with 13 specific demonic entities. These bloodlines, the theory goes, are a satanic shadow to the 12 tribes of Israel, and their power comes from the Qliphoth, a concept from Jewish mysticism representing dark, chaotic forces. The theory assigns specific families to specific demons, creating a kind of infernal nobility. The most famous example is the alleged link between the Rothschild banking family and the demon Mammon, the biblical personification of greed and wealth. The Rothschilds became incredibly wealthy and influential in the 19th century through brilliant financial strategy. But in this conspiracy, their genius wasn't the reason for their success. It was a demonic pact. Now, it is absolutely critical to point out that these claims about the Rothschilds are directly rooted in old, ugly, and dangerous anti-Semitic tropes that have been used for centuries to fuel conspiracies about secret global control. While the theory itself is a fiction, the way it uses this family is part of a very real and very dark history of prejudice. The theory doesn't stop with banking. It pulls in the thrones of Europe, too. Royal tragedies are reframed as ritual sacrifices. The execution of an heir, or the shocking death of a princess in a car crash, for example, is stripped of all factual context and reimagined as a sinister offering. And again, just to be perfectly clear, these are completely unfounded conspiracy theories that ignore all the evidence. According to this theory, these 13 families maintain their demonic connection through strict intermarriage. But here, the goal is spelled out: to preserve the unique genetic and spiritual signature that allows them to channel the energy of their patron demon. While dismissed by all mainstream historians, the theory of the 13 demonic bloodlines provides a chillingly complete, though entirely fictional story. It weaves together finance, royalty, and revolution into a tapestry of a world secretly governed by contracts, written in hellfire. For people who are deep into this theory, the proof isn't just in old books, it's in our biology. They've dived into genetics, twisting a few scientific facts to fit their story. And the biggest one they've latched onto is Rh-negative blood. Scientifically, it's pretty simple. Your blood type depends on antigens on your red blood cells. The Rh factor is one of them. If you have it, you're positive. If you don't, you're negative. About 15% of the world's population is Rh negative, with a higher concentration in some European groups like the Basque people. It's just a normal, natural genetic quirk. But in the conspiracy world, Rh-negative blood is supposedly proof of a separate, possibly non-human lineage. They point to the fact that an Rh-negative mother's body can produce antibodies that attack the blood cells of an Rh-positive baby. To them, this isn't a medical issue. It's proof that two different species are trying to reproduce. Their wild conclusion? It's the blood of fallen angels or other beings who interbred with humans long ago. This is total pseudoscience, by the way. There is zero scientific evidence linking Rh-negative blood to anything non-human, or that it's more common in royals than anyone else. The speculation doesn't stop there. Modern genealogy has been supercharged by DNA testing, especially Y-DNA analysis, which can trace a direct paternal line deep into the past. Geneticists can connect modern people to ancient haplogroups that originated thousands of years ago. To a geneticist, this is amazing data about how humans migrated and are all connected. But to a conspiracy theorist, it's the ultimate proof. They see these ancient genetic markers not as signs of human travel, but as the fingerprints of the gods or demons who first made the pacts. They argue that the DNA itself carries the memory of the deal. The fact that a modern aristocrat's lineage can be traced back to a Bronze Age warlord is, in their view, confirmation that the bloodline has been carefully managed for millennia to preserve this original, non-human genetic code. Genealogy becomes the tracking of a demonic inheritance, written not in a book, but in the very helix of life itself. So where does that leave us? On one hand, you have the official story, divine right, political games, and strategic marriages. On the other, the shadow story, demonic pacts, secret rituals, and bloodlines bound to hellish forces. One is a history of humanity, the other a conspiracy of the inhuman. We've seen how historical figures like John Dee can be seen as either loyal advisors or occult gatekeepers. We've seen how the tangled family tree of European royalty can be read as either smart politics or the preservation of a demonic contract. We've touched on wild theories that link powerful families to specific demons, and even looked at how pseudoscience tries to find proof in our very DNA. The claims are outlandish, resting firmly in the realm of speculation with no real proof. They often twist historical facts and, as we noted, can rely on ugly, dangerous stereotypes. And yet, the story sticks around. Why? Maybe it's because it taps into that feeling that the world isn't quite what it seems. It offers a narrative for the sense that the kind of power that shapes entire nations must have an extraordinary, even supernatural origin. It turns history into a mystery and monarchs into something more than mere mortals. Ultimately, you get to be the judge. Is the history of royalty just a story of divine right and human ambition? Or is there a darker secret, a cosmic tie hidden in their blood? What do you think? Is this all just fascinating folklore? Or is there a chapter of history they don't want you to read?